Hey, what is up guys, it is Cody. Welcome to my Magicka Sorcerer PvP tips and tricks video. I did this for Stamina Warden and Stamina Nightblade, and I will continue to do them for the rest of the classes if you guys are enjoying and actually getting help by these videos. But anyways, before we start, I just want to point out that I am running my latest Magicka Sorcerer PvP build. So this is a 5 Shackle, 5 Wizard's Riposte on the back bar, 1 Bloodspawn. I want to get Dami House, but I don't have it yet, and I'm Master Inferno staff. So I'm just going to be going over some offensive, defensive, and of course PvP tips and tricks for the Magicka Sorcerer. So let's first look at our skills, guys. We have 4 defensive skills: Healing Ward, Hardened Ward, Harness Ward, and Boundless Storm. Boundless Storm should always be up. It's a 23-second buff, and when your shields do get taken off, which they will always get taken off in PvP, like there's always going to be a point where you just take way too much pressure. This will help with your tankiness. Of course, we also are running Impen. That is why you want to have this skill up. The skill also gives 7.5 seconds of Major Expedition, which will help you move faster. So sometimes applying it before the entire buff drops is necessary to get to line of sights quicker and just to be fast. So when you're cutting at your opponents, maybe applying a Boundless Storm would be necessary to just get to line of sight and kite faster. Hardened Ward is our main defensive shield. This is the biggest shield, and this will be the first shield you apply. So just like Stamina, if you're playing Stamina, we apply Vigor before we go into our offensive rotation or into combat. Hardened Ward is the same way. You apply this first, and then you apply Harness Magicka. So the Magicka Sorcerer survives by shield stacking, if you may or may not know. So Harden, Harness. The first shield that gets taken down first is the first shield applied. So the first shield getting taken down when we shield stack like this is Hardened Ward. So if you're taking damage and Harness does not get touched, you just want to keep applying Hardened Ward, because Harness will stack under it, and Harden will be taken off first. Healing Ward should be used when you're under 70% health, in my opinion. You don't really need it when you're under 70% health, but it really helps. It'll give you a bigger shield and more time for offensive burst and rotations. Definitely use this if you are really low health. So like if you're under 50, guys, definitely use it after you stack your shields. If you're taking a lot of pressure, guys, you can also use Streak. This can be a defensive or offensive ability. It can be used defensively because you can CC your opponent, and you can CC multiple opponents with this ability. So what you would do is you would shield stack, and then you would turn around and streak through your opponents, and hopefully get some mobility, get to some line of sight, etc. Light Champion, this is our defensive ultimate. If you're taking a lot of pressure, guys, it would be optimal to pop this. This will give major protection and major force. So it's not only a defensive ultimate, you'll also hit harder if you do crit. You can also use destructive. You can also use Flame Clench as a defensive move, like CCing your opponent off. It also knocks your opponent back, so you can put your shields up, CC them off you real quick, and that will give you some room to figure out your next move. Alright guys, so we're going to be talking about offensive bursts now. And before we go into offensive bursts, I want to talk about the sustain. So you do have Resto Heavies, and you do have Dark Conversion. Dark Conversion is a stamina to Magicka ability. So basically, it costs stam and it will give you Magicka. We have really good stamina sustain on this build, and I will be putting the build in the description below. So don't worry about running out of stam. Also, if you do have this champion point passive called Unchained, your next stamina ability used within 5 seconds after you CC break is reduced by 80%. So let's say you get feared, you get CC'd. First thing you want to do, of course, is stack your shields. If there's a lot of people on you, you want to streak out of there, and then Dark Deal. The reason you want to streak out of there is because Dark Deal is an interruptible ability. So you want to get some distance from your opponents before you use a skill, because you can get interrupted and you can die from that. And of course, you won't get your Magicka back. So of course, putting up your shields is the first thing you want to do after you get CC'd, getting some line of sight or streaking away, and then using Dark Conversion. If you have distance and you have time for a heavy resto, you can do that as well. And of course, heavy attack destros also give you Magicka, but heavy attack restos give you more, and you also have pots. Alright, now for the defensive rotation. So before I even start a defensive rotation, you want to make sure you have your shields up, because if you don't have your shields up, you can be killed. So what I usually do is, of course, apply the bigger shield first, and then this is the part where you want to get right. I light attack before I harness Magicka. And why I do that, it's because I am going to be proccing 452 spell damage. So similarly to my stamina characters, where I like light attack and then I go into my offensive rotation, it's the same thing. But you want to Harden Ward without a light attack, and then light attack harness. So you get the most optimal uptime on your front bar. So there's a couple different burst rotations on Magicka Sorcerer. I'm going to be going over like probably the most easiest one. The reason this is the most easiest is because you can literally just drop your opponent like a fly if they are squishy or they have lost some health, and they're pretty much, you have to make this decision where you could kill them with this burst, because this burst is meant to just drop someone. So it's not going to work on a tanky opponent, it's not going to work on a Sorc that has shields, and it's not going to work on someone who knows what they're doing. But it works a lot of the time. So what it is, I'm just going to be going over like on my front bar. So of course you always want to harden light attack harness. And then the next thing you're going to want to do, guys, as soon as you swap cancel the harness Magicka, excuse me, you're going to want to light attack curse, light attack execute, light attack flame clench, and then you're going to want to light attack frag. If you do not have the frag, your spammable on the Magicka Sorcerer is flame clench. This hits pretty hard, and you're going to want to spam this until you get your fragments. If you're spamming this and your curse falls off, of course reapply your curse. You do not have burst unless your curse is on your opponent. So this is what it looks like, guys. Light attack curse, light attack execute, light attack flame clench, light attack frag. So that's me doing it slow. Of course, if you animation cancel, like if you're block canceling everything, it should be faster. But that's what it should look like, guys. That will melt any squishy opponent, any Sorc without shields, anyone really below 24k health, I'm going to say. Or anyone who has like 20k health, like sitting at 20k health, will die from that burst. Again, guys, to what it looks like in full is harden ward, light attack harness Magicka, light attack curse, light attack execute, light attack flame clench, and then you're supposed to have a frag. You will most likely have a frag. There I did not proc a frag, so I would fit another flame clench. My curse would then fall off, and then I would just try again. But remember, do not try again unless you have your shields up. Your shields only last 6 seconds. So what I would do is like, oh, I didn't proc a frag, light attack curse, harden, and then begin again. Before you go to your defensive bar, if you can squeeze it, putting a curse through a swap cancel will ensure that you're on the offensive when you're putting up your defensive. So again, it looks like this. And you want to make sure you hit the frag with the curse, and everything should go off there. You have an ultimate, of course. I'm using Dawnbreaker, but you can use Meteor or whatever you're using. Instead of flame clenching, what I would do is I would hit a Dawnbreaker, and then I would hit a frag. The good thing about Dawnbreaker is that it goes through shuffle, and it goes through dodge chance. So this will be really helpful on Nightblades or really slippery opponents. And anyone who's dodging or blocking, so someone who's dodging your frags most likely, you'll be able to actually hit them with your crystal frags because they'll be CC'd. So this is what it looks like. Basically the same thing, but instead of flame clenching after the execute, you're gonna hit a Dawnbreaker. Hopefully you have a frag. If you don't, a flame clench would be your next option. What you can also do is curse, execute, flame clench, then Dawnbreaker, then frag. That's another way. Putting another Magicka skill into the rotation will elongate your burst, but it will make you have a bigger chance of proccing the frag. Okay, so that was the first burst rotation, which is pretty much just like, it's called drop like a fly rotation, because your execute is on your opponent, and this is a very unique execute. This execute, basically, it's a debuff. So you have 4 seconds to get your opponent to 20%. So the reason we sneak it in there after the curse is, like, if they die by the clench and the frag, if they get dropped below 20%, they will literally be executed. And that's why it's like the most optimal burst. Now, if you're fighting a tanky opponent, or Magicka Sorcerer with shields, or someone who knows how to heal, or they're cleansing your curse, you basically want to light attack curse, clench, and then frag. And you're only going to want to execute if you see them fall in execute range, or they're dropping to that health point eventually, and you're gonna have to make a smart decision about it. But you can incorporate that first burst after a while if you know they're gonna drop into execute range soon. So if you think they're gonna fall in execute range, sneak that curse in before you burst them, you know. And you should always frag before flame clench if they have CC immunity, guys, because frag will hit harder, of course. But flame clench is gonna be obviously your CC and it's gonna be followed up by crystal frags most likely. Another offensive rotation you can do, this can be, I usually do this on Nightblades or anyone that's dodge rolling a lot, is I'll light attack curse. And since I can't CC them with Flame Reach because they're either dodging it with Shuffle or they're dodging it in general, I can either hit them with a Dawnbreaker or CC them with Streak. Streak will go through dodge roll, so that's the reason I'll use it. I'll usually use this on Nightblades. So, like again, you want to get your spell damage buff. So I'll light attack curse, light attack execute, streak, and then hit the frag, and that's another burst combo. What you can do too, guys, is this. So light attack curse, light attack execute, streak, Dawnbreaker, then frag. That's like really big burst. So if you really want to kill someone, that's another way of bursting someone. But for the most part, you should always apply curse before you go into any of your flame clenches or frags. Always apply curse. It happens every 3.5 seconds, guys, so you really want to make sure you get that on your opponent. I think that's going to wrap it up, though, for this PvP tips and tricks. Nice and quick, guys. If you did find this video helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll try to do this for the other classes as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been Cody PvP, and I will see you guys later. Peace.